Уважаеми зрители, ето ни във втората част на разговора с доктор Пол Крейг Робъртс. В първата част говорихме за Щатите, говорихме за Европейския съюз, говорихме за глобалната геополитическа карта, говорихме за евентуалните промени, които предстоят, за политиката, която Тръмп води, за добро или за лошо, за добрите или за лошите. Това са анализи, които предстоят да видим тяхната развръзка. Въпрос е, може би, ако преди говорихме за години, сега говорим за значително по-кратък период. Продължаваме по този начин и във втората част. Mr. Roberts, let me start the second part with perhaps the most important question and perhaps the end of the first part, which was the flow of the money. The money are the most important thing. Right now, a lot of stock exchange bureaus and institutions are saying that the future is in the artificial intelligence. Is this the absolute true, or it's more like a financial balloon right now?
Well, it is a financial boom right now.
Boom.
It's a boom. It's has a problem in that the rate of change in the technology of artificial intelligence has been very high. And so what is happening is the investments that are made are outmoded before they can produce the profit to justify the investment. And so the industry has been relying on not profits generated by artificial intelligence, but by the inflow of new money into artificial intelligence. So it's this inflow of money that's carrying the project forward. The problem can arise when the people supplying the money realize there's no profits. And then they stop supplying the money. So that would cause a collapse in the values that have been bid so high in these data centers, these artificial intelligence companies. So that is an economic problem that could happen. As for artificial intelligence, it's a danger because it's not that artificial intelligence is intelligent or can think or reason. The information it produces depends on the database. So whoever controls the data controls the answer or the truth. The truth is whoever controls the database, the information that they put in there. That then determines what artificial intelligence searches to find the answer. So it's very dangerous to the prospect of truth, of independence of people, of accountability. Because if you were to have a database controlled by, say, the American media, the database would produce the official narratives that we are currently living under that we know are false.
And they will produce them faster as ever, like never before.
That's right. It's a situation like George Orwell's book, 1984, where all the truth is thrown in the memory hole. Well, in the case of artificial intelligence, it works by the truth never enters the database. So that's one danger. The other danger, which gives all governments and the main controllers of the financial system control totally, is digital currency. If they can eliminate currency that people can hold in their hands, put in a safety deposit box, bury in their backyard, and all you have is an account digitally that you press a button on your computer, well then, if you don't comply, the government can simply block your access to funds. You can't pay your mortgage, you can't pay your car payment, you can't pay your grocery bill, you can't pay your energy bill. So it gives governments a form of total control that not even George Orwell could imagine. So I don't think the digital revolution or the artificial intelligence that it supports was a good development for humanity. It threatens very much the notion of an independent person, a person who can make decisions, can speak freely. This is wiped out.
Yeah.
And so it also has terrible employment consequences. There are a lot of jobs are destroyed. And then the question is, where do the people get the income to buy the products of robots and artificial intelligence? Because the robots and the artificial intelligence, it's pointless to pay them salaries because they don't have to have a home, a car, or food. But if the people who were doing that work are displaced, where do they get the money from? You may remember Elon Musk said the consequence of robotics and artificial intelligence is communism. Because unless you kill all the people, they will have to be given a government income in order to buy the product of the robots and the artificial intelligence that's running the economy, since there's no longer any need for the people. And I think that's true. In fact, the United States already has a significant percentage of its economy communistic. We have 42 million people who live off of the work of others. And I'm not talking about retired people on Social Security or elderly people on Medicare, because they paid taxes their lifetime for these benefits. But we have 42 million people living on SNAP benefits. That means they are given monthly money to pay for their food and their electric bills, their power bills. They're given public housing, either outright or at subsidized prices. And they're given free medical care that they never paid for. So if you've got 42 million people already in a communist system, and then along comes artificial intelligence and robotics and knocks out more people out of the workforce, sooner or later, you have a communist system, because the only way people can survive is to be given money by the government. So it is a threat to all of mankind. And I don't think the benefits come close to compensating for the threat. And if I was a dictator, I would simply ban artificial intelligence. I would ban the digital revolution and go back to the old analog system. Because what the digital revolution also does, it allows our identity to be stolen, our bank account to be stolen, it allows our credit card to be stolen and debts run up that destroy our credit status. It's a huge threat to people. Moreover, the system breaks down continually. Scammers can bring entire large complexes to a halt. And on an individual basis, if you have a problem, just trying to get a real person who can think and resolve the problem, it can take half a day. And so it absorbs enormous time and energy out of productive work just to correct problems. So I don't think the system is beneficial. I think its costs exceed its benefits, and the costs are rising rapidly. There are more and more scams, more and more invasions of privacy, more and more thefts, more and more breakdowns. The system is simply not dependable, and it cannot be made secure. I don't know what's going on in Bulgaria, but here we've long gone beyond the point where you have a password. You now have to have, after a password, you have to get a code sent to you, and then you have to put in the code after the password. And in some cases, then you have a robot asking you questions. What is your mother's maiden name? What town were you born in? So the levels of security mount. And so, and anything can go wrong at any of those levels. And then you find out you can't access your bank account. And then you try to get on the phone to straighten it out, and you're faced with another robot. And eventually you get somebody who can speak, and they're usually in Bangladesh or somewhere. And they don't have any authority. And so then you wait for a supervisor. And it goes on endlessly. It's a huge use of time. So these are problems every bit as real as military conflict, nuclear war, and they're just as big a threat.
Well, I'm listening to you speaking like this. It reminds me of this historical point, like it was the nuclear power. Today is the artificial intelligence. Some of the things may be good for the society, but the risk and the threat is bigger than ever.
That's right.
Okay.
They're huge. Yeah, they're huge. And you already see massive layoffs of people because they're no longer needed. Mm-hmm. Their jobs can be done by artificial intelligence. And a lot of these will be highly trained people, software engineers, architects, medical personnel. So, to train a doctor takes years, but if you've got a database and you can just ask the questions, you don't need a trained doctor.
Yeah.
So, yes, it's a problem for us that's just as big as war and famine and drought and climate change or whatever. But it doesn't receive the attention. It's presented as a great benefit.
Because right now there are people who are investing like billions and trillions in this new industry, the virtual industry. Okay, but this will create new social tense, new social problems that will go higher. That will be international tense also. For example, right now, the things that we are seeing is that London and New York, they have some kind of financial, let's say, battle. Not war, but just a battle. Is this correct? And if it is like this, who's winning?
Well, maybe no one.
It's just a theater.
It could be theater, or it could just be both sides lose. Even the victor of a war can be destroyed. World War II destroyed all of Europe, not just Germany, and did a better job destroying the British. They've never recovered from it. And the Soviet Union was the victor, but look at the cost they paid. So I think this is what Trump realizes, that battles, whether military or financial or any kind of battle, is more costly than a deal. And so he has changed the American approach, and it is corrupting of everyone, but it does get away from combat. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. But at the moment here in Europe, perhaps you know better than me, right now we have a lot of financial problems, the countries. At the moment, the industry is like on one of the lowest levels since the Second World War and before this. Some of the European leaders says we need to rise up our economy, we need to protect from Russia's invasion. So that's why we will build new factories for bombs, for drones, for rockets, for everything that's is needed for a big war. Actually, right now they're trying even to create European army for this. At one point, the warehouses will be full of this production from the new factories, and they will have to use them.
Well, not necessarily, but what they're doing, they're producing things that people can't consume.
Yeah, that's right.
So they're using energy to store weapons in a warehouse, to build and store weapons in a warehouse. And it's all quite silly because there's really no prospect of Europe being able to go to war with Russia. It's just not, they can't do it. It's not possible. The kinds of weapons the Russians have would end the war immediately, and there just wouldn't be any Europe. So the real question is, why are they doing it? And I think it has to do with they get to award the armaments contracts. And, of course, they get commissions for awarding the armaments contract. They get money back, money under the table. They don't want to let loose the money. And so it's really just the politicians feeding themselves money. Oh, we've got to defend against Russia, so we're going to spend 5% of the gross domestic product buying weapons. Okay, look, that gives us hundreds of billions of dollars to award contracts, and we will get a commission on each contract, because it's up to us which firm gets the contract. So that will be the firm that gives us the biggest payback.
But it doesn't mean...
They're taking money. They're taking money. So some percentage of the money allocated for weapons is coming back to the politicians who award the contracts. So that's probably the main reason for it. It's a way they enrich themselves. And you can say, well, look, you're stealing from the people. Well, they will say, well, what do you think governments do? That's the function of government. And why should only the bureaucrats be able to benefit? Why shouldn't we? We are awarding the contracts. We get a commission. This is normal business. So I think that the main trouble, though, however, the main trouble for the European economies has been the American sanctions on Russia. This is what has driven up the energy prices. This is what has threatened the German automobile factories, which is essentially the backbone of European industry. This has broken the European business connections with Russia, which were profitable. It's denied Europeans Russian markets. So it was Europe going along with Washington sanctioning Russia that has led to the decline in European economic performance. Where look how dependent you are now on high-priced American energy. When you were getting abundant amount of low-priced Russian energy. So again, you're looking at the total political failure of every European government. They don't act for the people. They act for America or for Israel or for themselves. See, I've said many times that European countries, governments, certainly the Western European governments, they do not represent their people. They may represent immigrant invaders. They may represent Washington. They represent their whatever interests they have in acquiring money from the budget in the form of kickbacks from awarding contracts. But they are not representative of their own ethnic nationalities. Indeed, they're willing to give up their national sovereignty to the EU and have been gradually doing this over the years. So the values that are associated with Western Europe and the United States, they really have collapsed. They're worn out. They're eroded away. And so we have a situation where we're living in a false reality, not the real reality. And the inability to connect with real reality is increasing.
But that means that in a few years, when you, me, and other people forget about the reality, just getting too old or something happened with us, and we have only the database in the artificial intelligence mind or whatever it is, at that point, the society, the human society will be lost, no matter if it's in Europe or Asia or United States. What exactly can we imagine what exactly is coming up?
Well, unless some kind of accountable control can be put on this artificial intelligence and its use, we won't know what reality is. We'll only know the information that comes out of the database, and the control of the database will determine what is truth. So essentially, truth that doesn't serve the interest of those who control the database will disappear. There just simply won't be any truth. The truth will be whatever serves those who have control on the database. Because when artificial intelligence searches the database, they find the truth that those who control the base put there.
Okay, so we're in this movie, The Matrix.
We'll have no idea of reality or of truth. What is truth? It'll be whatever artificial intelligence says. And all it will know is from the data that's in the base. And that will be whoever controls the base.
Unfortunately, Mr. Roberts, thank you very much for this conversation. I would use the word scary, but since we know the situation, it's way more important to find a way to be opposition of this that is coming. That's the only thing that I see as logical at the moment.
Well, all we can do is to try to make people aware and to think.
And to think. Yeah. Thank you very much once again. Hope our next conversation won't be with such a big distance like this time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.